What I want to do is introduce organic divinity to you in a way that becomes a living practice for you. Because, from the time I was little, and who knows why, everybody's drawn to something. Kids are drawn to trucks and cars and whatever. I could not figure out why people were saints. And I was so interested in it. Who's interested in that, right? I mean, it's just so ridiculous, but I was fascinated with what is it that they're experiencing that I'm not? What is it? Because they can't all be crazy. They can't all be crazy. Something's going on there. Something. And I remember I had the most magnificent teacher when I was in college. Barbara Doherty. And she and I had the same birthday. She passed away, I'm sorry to say, but she's older than me, and she was a nun. And I had to take a religion class because it's Catholic college. And I thought, who studies for religion? So I took this course with her, and I was failing. Who fails religion? For Christ's sake. So she comes up to me. I don't know how Barbara did it. She glided. She didn't walk. She was, and she said, I want to speak with you. She said, you're failing my class. She said, you have a wonderful brain. It's unfortunate you don't know how to use it. And she walked away. She just walked away. Right? She walked away. And I remember standing there thinking that I should be crushed in humiliation, but she inspired me, and I couldn't figure out how it happened. How is it that I'm inspired by what you just told me? I should be throwing myself off a bridge. But you inspire. I'm telling you, I was so gripped by that. Like, how did you manage to inspire? You inspired me. I'm feeling inspiration. And I was rolling around in what inspiration felt like. I mean, I was getting high on it. I thought, how did she do that? How did she do that? The absence of humiliation. I was so inspired. So I spent every class I could take then with her for the rest of my 4 years. And among the many things, she was a professor of Eastern religion. So she was my introduction to yoga, to Buddhism, to this. But this is how she started a course. She said, I'm going to teach you how to meditate today. I teach you how to concentrate and let God come in. We took out our pen. We were like this. And she did this. She went somewhere else. And all of us were staring at her. And I thought, you've got to let me in. I wanted to beat on her head. You've got to, what are you experiencing that I'm not? I can't stand it anymore. And my college is a convent. It's a mother house with the Sisters of Providence, right? So there is a convent on one part of the grounds and then the college on the other part. And there's a chapel in the convent area. And from the time the church, the order was, the chapel was built, was in the mid-1800s. There has been a nun praying in there always at some time during the day. And I said, So I get up. In the middle of the night, I cross over the campus. I get to the aspirancy, through the aspirancy, into there's a little door. I open it, but there's a nun. And I thought, okay. So I had to figure out what in the world are we capable of experiencing that we're so afraid to experience? What is that power? What is that? And that's the power of that head. Now, I'm telling you this because somewhere in each of you is that same desire. You're not as crazy as I am, but within each of you is the desire to hear God call you by name. I don't care how you see God. I don't care what kind of name you want to go with. But every single one of you has the desire to know that the sacred world knows you're here and is watching you. Tell me I'm wrong. No, I'm not wrong. I'm wrong about a lot of things, but this, honey, I'm not wrong about. And every one of you wants to know, if I ask for help, you're going to be there. I'm not sure how your help works, but if I ask for help, you're going to be there. And nothing, I'm telling you, nothing in the world makes you feel as unbelievably safe and secure, not a fat bank account, nothing, as knowing that when I pray, you're there. And you work in a way that human beings don't, and that's why I need you. I need you to do what the human world cannot do, and I cannot do within the human world. I need you to compensate, to be my multiple sensory system. I need you to do what I cannot do here, but can do with you. Now, that doesn't make sense to a lot of people. So what I'm going to do and how I'm going to teach this is that it took years for me to realize that the laws of the universe are in our bio-spiritual ecology. They're in our body. That, you know, the teaching, everything's inside of you. It's like, oh yeah, okay, where? Where, right? Well, it's in how deeply you understand how you're put together and why you're put together the way you are. And what the level of power is that you have within yourself. And really, and honestly, the journey of the more you, in Buddha language, detach from the outside world. Detach meaning, I don't want to give my power to this or that. And realize you're the one calling the shots. You can attach yourself to a fear if you want or not. You can attach yourself to an image of yourself, or you can detach. That everything is your choice. The power of choice is everything. And how our body is designed, it looks solid, but it's not, and you know it. You have this energetic, holy anatomical system. So you have an energy system and you have a soul anatomy system. And in the soul system is where is a bank account of knowledge that you were born knowing, and that it awakens through your life. It awakens. And what awakens is a knowledge of the laws of the universe. Now, the laws of the universe is an expression of God. It is, to me, God is this substance of light, love, and law. And the more you understand the laws of this that govern the universe, you realize these laws are in you and they're in every word you say. That you are commanding the laws. This was the power of Jesus. This was the power of Buddha when Buddha said, everything's illusion, you don't get it. The best thing you can do is become empty so you can see clearly. And so the laws are organized, they kind of resonate with our bio-spiritual ecology. Like, for example, the law of balance. The law of balance governs you and governs your life, governs your bias, but your health, governs your thoughts in ways you'll never know, but it kicks in gear. From the time, if you throw yourself off balance in any way, if you have a thought form that throws you off balance, if all of a sudden, for example, you become frightened of something, and you have this fear, and it throws you incredibly off balance, that law kicks in. And it kicks in such a way that it activates your consciousness to start thinking of other things. Like, to put it in a very simple way, the moment that your body is depleted of a substance, the law of balance kicks in and you start craving that substance. All the laws are based on survival, okay? So at the physical survival, that law is organic. This is organic divinity. This is God in your blood and your bones. because your body is designed to have a feedback system that's not only biophysiology, but it's also spirit physiology. It's also spirit physiology. And that's the area that I'm more interested in, obviously. But here's an example. One of the ways that you will make yourself very sick, I promise you this, is if you betray yourself. You will become sick. It may take a week, it may take a month, it may take a year, but you will become sick. So an act of betrayal, because it leads to another act of betrayal. And what it leads to is you twisting your consciousness around so that you can live with that act of betrayal. So whether you've betrayed yourself or someone else, an act of betrayal will inevitably turn to something toxic and poison inside of you. And the way that you live with a betrayal, because what happens is this is so important. What did I tell you? Love, light, and law. Every part of your soul consciousness will kick in and alert you. You've just betrayed something. You've just directed your words into an act of creation that has no truth to it. Now, I'm going to hit a pause button. Every single thing about your life is the pursuit of truth, and you don't get it. But you're going to get it by the time I'm done with you. Everything, every single thing is about our capacity to see the truth, speak the truth, live the truth, act the truth, be truth. That's why truth is so healing. That's why truth sets you free. The moment that you do something that is absent of truth, the laws kick in a way that say this, you didn't mean that, that's not truth, that's not truth. She said something that's not truth, not truth. Poison is in the system. Poison is in the system. And depending on your sensitivity, you're going to sense poison in your system. Your next choice is, how do I expel this poison by saying, wait a minute, whoa, I said something, I didn't mean that, it wasn't the truth, and let me course correct this right away. Or you decide, I have to now go on a poison diet. No, not a detox. You're still getting sick. Because in order to live with something that's not true, you have to now what you do is you take your precious creative life force, and instead of being, what do all the greats tell you? In the moment, I'm in the moment. What shall we do in the moment with God? Instead of using your life force to respond in the moment, the way heaven will direct you, put your hands on that person, she needs some grace, and you walk by and all you got to do is this and keep going. Keep going. You're just living in the moment. Instead, you have to take your life force, all the energy, you're okay if I...
Yes.
I mean, all the energy that's coming into you. And you have to direct it into narratives that are not true, as a way for you to live with something you've just done that is harming someone or is not true. You've got to figure out a way to live with it. So what you do is you have to now go in the business of using your precious creative life force to create a story, an excuse. And when you do something that is a betrayal of truth, you have to figure out who's responsible. Now I'm going to play angel. And I promise you I'm not acting. Well, I'm acting, but I'm telling you it is. And you're free to let all of this stuff stay here when you leave, but what a mistake. All right, your angel is immediately near you saying, this is not truth. This is not truth. You're using the substance of God to tell a lie. Are you with me? You're using the light to deceive. You're using the light to deceive. So your angel goes on alert, which is why, if you think clearly Every one of you can remember, because we've all done this. We've all betrayed something. We've all instantly, if you are really attuned, you realize you have an instant, uh-oh. And where'd that come from? Okay, that's your angel saying, are you serious? Put my voice in there and imagine that. Are you nuts? Picture me as your angel flapping wings over your bed at night. Will you wake up? You are not going to do this again. But that's why I'm not an angel. All right. Are you okay, honey?
Yes.
Okay. But what is it? What do you need, darling? Are you all right?
I just checked that she's not sick. I sneezed.
You sneezed. I'm coughing. I'll one up you. Okay, darling. Got it. Whatever you need to do. Got it. Okay. All right. Got it. Thank you, sweetheart. Could you open that door? Okay. Let's get the door open. All right. All right. Back to this. On track, everybody. So the moment that you use the creative life God force to do something that you know and you're on alert, you've got to figure out a way to deal with what you've just done. Now I'm going to put it in another way. I want you to imagine an angel standing there saying, I'm going to hold you accountable for this. And when I get my hands on you full time, you're going to explain yourself. So just keep going. And so think about it. You are always given an alert. Always. You are always. Always. It may be a twinge of conscience. It may be a kick in your gut. But heaven always alerts you when you have taken the precious force of God and turned it into an act against another human being. This is how closely we're watched, which means that's how closely your prayer is answered. So when you say, will you get here? I need some help and I need it now. Never think it's not there. It is. And from that moment on, take your hands off and operate from exactly the laws as I will teach you in the next 2 days. Rely upon the laws and grace to do what you think you're being directed to have. Just let the laws work. Right now, when you've done something like an act of betrayal, then you have to excuse yourself. Why did I do this? So, as a rule, you will go to your history to find an excuse because you can't go to your future. You'll go to your history. Whose fault can I blame? So I want you to picture going through your file. Who can I blame this on? Just go and let me see how, my mother's worn out. The hell with that. My father, mother, teacher. You'll find someone. And then you'll create a narrative. I've tried so hard. I've tried so hard. You understand? I've just tried so hard. And in order to get, and then you'll put, I was just so frightened. Believe me, this is what we do. Instead of having then you wonder why you don't heal a serious illness? Really? Yeah? This is where if you went up to someone and say, I got to talk to you, I just lied to you. And I lied to you because this is what I wanted. And now I realize it's probably a bad idea. Not because I care about you, but because I don't want to get my ass kicked later on. So I just want to tell you, this is really how I believe. You don't get it. This is my theology. I treat you guys like gold, not because I care so much, because I know. But here's the thing. The kinder you treat people, no matter what your motivation, the more you think, wow, this feels good. This really works. This really works. It's almost like heaven saying, yeah, duh. All right. So when you start with the line, you have to make up narratives. In order to live with your narratives, you have to blame people. People are characters in your narratives. You always have to blame someone, blame someone for why you do what you do. And this is a big pause button here. Because if one of the greatest powers you have is choice and will, What is happening in you when you are blaming someone else for a choice you make? What are you actually saying? I really want you to get this. If you actually understand that your greatest power is choice, your capacity to choose how you see something, how you respond to something, whether or not, even in Buddhism, in Buddhism, they don't have a version of hell like Dante's given us in the Inferno, right? And I so hope some of that's true. But anyway. Yes, we won't go there. But in the Buddha world, and I love this, Buddha's definition of hell is for you to feel like you have no power. To be completely powerless. And I mean, look at all the stories of people where, they've been kidnapped. The girls, the girls that are kidnapped and put in cages, and this slavery stuff and all of this. And just any kind of thing. If you're arrested for something and put in a cell and nobody knows you're there. Right? I mean, all the ways that you can think, what about a concentration camp? Shave your head, take your name, put a number on your arm, and that's all you've got left. Rarely do our lives reach that stage where we look around and think, oh my God, nobody knows I'm here. We have rarely reached that, anybody in this room. And there's a real good chance that none of you in this room will ever be that powerless. But even in that level of powerlessness, Buddha would say, are you really powerless? Huh? I haven't had this tested in me. You haven't. But we've all been tested to some extent, where we feel like, I don't know what I can do. I have no idea. And even then, I want you to picture that there is truly an invisible resource, a holy resource standing by you. This is what Francis knew. This is what Teresa knew. This is what they knew. And it's, don't feel powerless. This moment will pass, as terrified as you might be. We're here and we can be of more help to you than you realize if you say, I'm still not without resources. I have you. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know how I got here. I don't know why I'm ill. I don't know why this happened. But that's not a prayer that'll be answered. So let me pray something that will, which is, this is bigger than me, step in. This is bigger than me. Don't let me do something stupid. Step in. However it is that happens, however it is God then manages your thoughts, or God manages your heart, step in. And if I wish I had one of those, in my dreams, I wish I had one of those great big huge screens that you press and they show all this and it's all electronic and then I can move things here and here. Yeah? I wish I had that, because I would turn that screen on right now and I would show you your energetic holy anatomy system. And you would be in a hologram. Can you at least join me in my imagination? And I want you in this beautiful big hologram. And in your hologram, and I want you to please take this image with you for the rest of your life. You're in a hologram. And that is the size of you and your life. And this hologram is like latitude and longitude. All right? So you have circuitry around you. You actually have circuitry around you. And so you're in this whole big, huge network of you. It is a network of the size of your power. And you are constantly processing the data in this network. And it's constantly engaging with the data in every other network. And one of the systems that you are constantly connected to are the mystical laws of creation. The mystical laws. So I want you to just picture yourself in this network of soul activity. and think, I have to engage the law of cause and effect. And you want to do it consciously. I'm going to back up here. You are always engaged with all the laws. Are you with me? You cannot not be. What is the journey of becoming conscious about? But realizing, oh my God, look what I'm plugged into. How do I consciously use this? How do I consciously activate my soul in such a way that it is now part of the animation of the cosmos? You think I'm dreaming, but I am telling you this is the way you are and this is the way it is. Yes, darling.
I was going to give you an example.
I'm sorry? A sample. You want an example?
No, I was going to give you but using what you say and you're illuminating it. I worked my way back from stage 3 cancer by focusing on goodness and growth and state of health. And I found out of my focus, just what you're saying, in the right place helps me do it.
That's exactly right, you little angel. That the power of your focus and engaging this network
Yes. And
it activates all the laws, and by activating consciously the laws, you activate systems of grace.
Yes.
And by activating systems of grace, you are activating all the assistance of grace you can get. Systems to assistance, you get all the grace, right? That's exactly right.
I feel like you just explained what it is that I've been discovering.
Yeah, all right, yeah. I'm giving you I'm giving you mystical mathematics, and it's, you know what? It's the power of focus, but then it's the power of faith. Because I can focus on the floor and it won't do me any good.
Right. I used to have the faith, but I have it all.
Thank you, sweetheart. So I'm going back to, now, I'm going to take you back to the act of betrayal. And I want you in your sphere, and I want you in this network, and I want you like this active agent. And every breath you take, you're utilizing this source of light power that is running through you into acts of creation. That's all we do. That's all we do, is we are co-creating our life, our body, by what we eat, what we drink, co-creating the quality of the energy in this, everything. That's all you ever do. Now you've decided to direct your energy, your life force, and this is the hardest thing for me to communicate, and I do not have the words to do it right, but I'm going to try. This breath that we have, this life force, this everything is God itself. All creation is God. All creation. It is very difficult to comprehend that. It's very difficult to get wrapped around that. Our mind doesn't get it because we're used to having everything. We think this is empty space. That's number one. We think there's nothing in here. Number two, we are completely, as Buddha would say, captivated by the illusions of physical matter. That this is where this chair ends, and this is where Christine ends, and this is, etc. We are captivated by what our universe feels like, smells like, looks like, and how we can order this universe around the world of physical matter. So it's very difficult for us to imagine that this is the caboose on the train of creation and not the engine. If I put you on the caboose, when you're riding a train, you know what a caboose is, right, everybody? The last car on a train. All right, all of us are sitting on a caboose, and we're all looking out the tail end. So we're actually looking out every place the train's just gone. Agreed? So this is your train, and you are watching it from the ass end, thinking you know where you're going. That you know where you're going, you're on the tail end, and you have no idea that all the choices as to where you're going the speed you're going, what's in your baggage cars, has determined the journey that you think you're seeing for the first time. Because you're looking out and you're saying, oh, look at all of this, and you're seeing the end of it, not the beginning. You don't get that the object of your life is to get to the engine, not to ride in the caboose. All right? The object is to get to the engine, so you think, where am I going? I don't want this train to go this way. I want it to go this way. And you have to, in order to do that, we have to walk through the baggage cars and think, I don't want this baggage on here. That goes. You walk through the passenger cars, and you think, I don't want you on my train anymore. I'm serious. You think I'm kidding, don't you? No. And we walk through the baggage, and you stop and you let certain passengers off. It's time you get off my train. And you invite other people on. It's time you get on my train. And then you get to the Hall of Records. And this is the car where you have to go through your data and clean out. And this is the toughest part for you, because you don't want to clean out your chakras. You don't want to clean out your belief systems. You think, I could still use this. You know, like that my recipe for meatloaf is better than anybody else's. I could still use this. This stays, right? You don't realize how much data you've accumulated inside of you that just comes from the fact that you were born now. There's no truth to it. But how much data in you are maps of places that won't be in a year? Or 10 years? Or how much data in you is from places, all this stuff that has no relevance in the cosmos? It's just anchors to help you get through this life that you're in now. Very useful, but not truth. So if you said, I need to go for truth, how much truth do I have on my train? Not how much data, not how much experience. This is my car full of my experiences. Okay. There's no truth in there, it's just your experiences. Then you realize, I am one powerful cookie. How long is your train? Right? And how much do you have? Then you have a train full of you have a car full of expectations. Oh, Jesus, that one's loaded. The things you would like and all of that other stuff. Okay. Nowhere along the line, when you get to the engine, do you sit down with the conductor? And you say, you've given me an incredible train and a journey and a track. And I've filled it with a lot of stuff that's not necessary. Because I was so convinced it was, but it's not. The only thing I have to trust is this track was in place before I got here. I should have looked at that. I should have noticed that this train was already on a well-charted course for me. So what's the greatest skill I can have is how to go with the flow of the track. Not how to load the train, not how to jam in, but to go with the flow of my track. How is this system already working so magnificently? Because the laws are in place. And the whole point of becoming conscious, like all the mystics knew, was that they saw how heaven has put itself into every single law, every plant, every law of nature, every law of ourself. And that those laws are operating in us. So back to this, and then we'll start with the laws. That when you have to use your energy to distort something, to distort anything, whether you're distorting what you say about yourself to yourself. Do you know how oftentimes you do that? You'll say, oh, I can't do this. And your angel's like, but why am I inspiring you to do this if we're going to argue? Why are you telling me you can't? I'm under orders here with your contract. This is something you're supposed to do. And if you don't choose to do it, I'm going to have to make a mess so that you are forced to do it. okay? You start distorting, and when you distort, you will always create a narrative. And that narrative will always blame something or someone. And when you do that, I will tell you that at the end of the day, you start accumulating self-loathing. You will. You will lose respect for yourself, and you will have a sense of self-loathing. And then in order to live with that, you have to become critical of other human beings. You have to. Other human beings will absolutely intimidate you. Because at the end of the day, what you are terrified of is that they could see through you. Am I making any sense here?
Totally.
You know, so it's like the smallest choice. I was writing up something for a workshop I'm doing next year or later this year. I can't remember what month it is, and it's all about the power of our choices. We'll get some of this tomorrow or something, but I put down as a way. I said, if you were given, if an angel said, I'm going to give you two choices, you can either make the choice to never betray yourself again, or you can make the choice to take $1 million. Which one would you take? Now, don't answer to me because I don't want to. Go back in the privacy of yourself. And I think 90% of the people would take the money because they would think that money had the capacity to improve their life in a way. And they would just go spend it and end up in more debt. They'd do whatever. Maybe if they weren't that stupid, they would save some. But they would take the money because they would think that was an immediate resolution. But in fact, if you said, you know what, I think I'll choose not to betray myself. Well, now what that requires is a whole new way of you engaging every law of creation. So I'm putting you back in your hologram. And you make one choice like that. One, show you how powerful you are. You make one choice that says, I'm not going to betray myself, which means you can't betray anyone else. You don't realize how big that choice is. You think it's a little one, but oof. Which means, okay, I've just promised that I will live with integrity. Now, your chakra system goes because what you've just done is opened up a line of intuitive communication that had been previously blocked because you didn't want that kind of clarity. Okay? So now you have also just aligned your body, mind, spirit, physiology in a way you didn't even know you were unaligned because of that life. You had no idea that one choice had so much authority that living in a world where you gave yourself permission to betray yourself or others, living in that world has an incredible physiological effect. It impacts your digestion. It impacts the subtle. I want you to think in terms of nutrition homeopathy. It impacts every single flow of everything in your body because you have to now protect your solar plexus in a way that honesty doesn't need to require. Because you are now knowing that you are doing things that are deceiving, you will feel hypersensitive here. So this will become a hypersensitive part in your physiology. Secondly, you will assume that other people are not telling you the truth because you don't tell the truth. So you'll always have a suspicious thing, and that affects your health. And now we're going up the esophagus and down to the lower back. So you don't realize by making the choice, you know what, I'm not gonna do betray anymore. You are now, I want you in your hologram, you are sending out signals to every law in the universe, to every system of grace, to every system of creation. This system is flowing more clearly. Different light flows in, and your health starts to improve in ways you didn't even realize. Are you with me? I realize It took me a while, but I realized that that's one of the reasons why making choices that deal with truth are so incredibly challenging for us, because we are actually changing the physiological biodynamics of our whole cosmic atmosphere. You're not just making a private decision in the world behind your eyes. You're actually changing the world. You're actually changing the world. Which is why, and you are born knowing that you have some choices in you that have that kind of power. And telling the truth is one of them. Speaking with, deciding I can't do betrayal. I'm not going to let myself off the hook and none of this bullshit stuff. Oh, I'm frightened. I don't care if you're frightened. Who isn't frightened? I could care less. Don't ever use fear as an excuse when you're talking to me, because it won't work. Here's me. That's as much as you're going to get. And now what? Because you're afraid you get to do anything you want to people? No, watch. No. You get to say, if I have that much fear, I've got to snap out of it. Right. Okay, so now we're going to put the laws in your bio-spiritual anatomy system so that you have an understanding of how heaven works with your bio-spiritual dynamic and how the laws impact you at all times, so that when you are operating with consciousness, you realize you're actually influencing your organic divinity. You're actually influencing the whole of you, but you're also influencing the whole of life. Now, I can't snap my fingers and say, see this, but I want you to imagine yourself in your molecular, lit up, incredible hologram. And that every single choice you make is radiated through the universe. Every single part of you, every breath you take, everything. Because, as a way of comparing, is there one cell in your body that operates independent of the network of your entire body? No. There's not. This is the divine design. What's in one is in the whole. So the same network of tiny little molecules and tiny little atoms that are completely communicating with the whole system in your body is completely, we are doing the very same thing in the macro. There is no difference. So the moment you change something in your micro earth, you are communicating to the macro earth. And all the laws that are operating, cause and effect, magnetic attraction, the law of energy into matter, the law of gravity, all of these laws are immediately calibrated anew to the vibration, to the light you have just, the code you've just put in, which is no more betrayal. And the code changes, the vibration changes, the vibration of light that you're on changes. It all changes. You know what, years ago, time for a story. Years ago when I went I was in Moscow and I met this woman she'd had a near-death experience. And it's not like I'm in the business of near-deathers now, but it just happened to be. She's, right, and she was an atheist and a hardcore scientist. So I'm going to take you back. This wasn't yesterday. This was like 20, 30 years ago. We were still in perestroika. And so when a scientist, remember that in an atheist country like the then Soviet Union, as I'm sure Emma would be able to tell us, but in the Soviet Union, you couldn't mention God. You couldn't, but if you had psychic power, if you showed any indication at all, any of spoon bending or this, or, oh, I've got a feeling, and if you actually could do any of that, you were rewarded by the government, and you had privilege that other people did not have. And the kind of privilege is, for example, you could have a religious icon in your house. which was banned from everybody else. And of course, you also got a TV. So, all right? It's just too funny, right? Okay, so here's this tough, hardcore scientist. She has a near-death experience, and she comes out of it, and in her near-death, she sees this light, and the light said, welcome, Magda. And she was, who's talking to me? And you don't exist. To which the light said, oh, yes, I do. Right. That's bold. Anyway, when she was sent back, as is very typical, now I'm going to hit a pause button here. One of the reasons human beings are terrified of mystical experiences is because they know if I go that close to the light and to put it on the ground, if you tell me the truth, I can't live in this world anymore the same way. Agreed? People are always afraid that somehow or other, if they have a mystical experience, God wants their bank account. Just such pissant minds. But there's no truth to that. What happens is it's you that forms a very different relationship with the physical world, realizing that this has limited power. This has only power. So she's in this out-of-body experience. And she comes back, and her life in Moscow was just science. She was a biochemist or something. It was just that. But she also had like a very limited capacity to care for any other human being. As is often the case in societies where there isn't a lot of stuff, there isn't a lot of general caring. You care for your own, but there's not a lot of caring to go around because it hurts too much, actually. So when she has this experience and she comes back and she discovers that she is a healer. So heaven fixed her, like we're not going to let you get away. We're going to do everything that would blow your mind off. So they gave her the capacity to heal people. And it started out with her, she didn't know it, because the way heaven works with you is it's very subtle until it's not. So when she was around sick people, her hands started to get very hot, big hot, huge hot. And she couldn't figure it out. So then she, eventually said, oh God, and she just put her hands on someone and they got better. Well, all you have to do that is once and the word gets out, especially in a country where this is proof that there is a God. If I can't say it, but I can see it. How do you do this, right? And she can't, so she actually had to leave her career as a scientist. And it was so typical. Superstitious people are always afraid of people that have some kind of connection, that they know it's there. And they don't want a devil to show up at their door. So they find ways of saying, you can practice your healing because I may need you, but I can't let you do it officially. So she had this kind of life. And when I met her in Moscow, I found this to be interesting. And my point here is the vibration of light. And I said, can you heal people that who can't walk? Or this type of, major mega healing to go from crippled to, right? She was eating dinner. I don't know that this is relevant, but it was relevant to me at the time. I observe everything. I become micro. I'm like a microchip out. Yeah. And she was eating with her hands around her food because she'd been used to having to protect her food. Okay? And she's eating constantly while I'm talking to her. And I said, can you heal people like that? No, not things like that. And I said, what can you do? And she said, when they're in pain, I help them, and then they're not in pain. All right, so this is a big deal for me to explain to you. It's a big deal, because you have to understand, I said the universe is law, and it's organized in laws, and part of those laws have to do with the speed at which you can see God. at the speed at which you could handle a healing, at the speed of which you could help somebody. She could not help them at vertical speed. Instead, it was more of a horizontal, more of an angular, like an isosceles triangle, at a speed that their rational mind could deal with without blowing away their universe. Okay? Now, I say this because the same thing is true with you. You are regulating the speed of light that comes into you according to the speed at which you want your life to change and you want to understand things. So you regulate the speed and the intensity of light that comes into you. Lynn, do you want some coffee? You okay? Okay. So when you are in any kind of thought process, I want you to imagine that you actually are doing a light calculator. And you're thinking, how fast do I want to understand this? How fast do I want to understand somebody? How fast do I want to understand what someone else is saying? Because the more you are open, the faster light will come in. The faster light comes in, the more about someone you understand. So rather than just hearing one word, I hear a universe when you talk to me. I'm not like that when I walk out of a classroom, but when I'm in a classroom and when I'm with you, I hear your universe. So you ask me one question, but I get your history. I hear a universe. And I don't hear like that when I walk out, but I do when I'm with you, which is why teaching's a high for me. It's a holy high for me. Because I see each one of you as this hologram, and your hologram speaks to me. Okay. Now, becoming conscious is becoming conscious of that hologram that you are. I'm going to take you into your body now. What a journey. Oh, by the way, that healer, yeah. I said to her, I'll finish the story. I said to her, well, what can you heal? She says, oh, pain. So she could only heal pain, and she could only heal, like, she could make people feel good for 7 or 8 or 10 days without medication, but then they had to come back to her. Now, this is a big deal to me. As I sat there with her, I realized I was learning a lot, but I didn't know why or for what. So I just let it pour in. I thought, I'm absorbing everything you're saying to me. I don't know how this is going to be relevant, but someday it is, because I don't meet people like you by chance. This was a setup. I smell a setup. And so what she was actually saying to me is that the size of her heart, her capacity to care for others, she didn't say it in this language, I'm telling you in mine. Our capacity to care for each other regulates what's the word I want? Give me a word. Regulates the purity and clarity of light that comes through your heart to another person. It regulates the purity and clarity of light, of literally the expression of God that runs through you to another person. I need you to hear what I'm saying to you here.
Say it one more time.
Okay.
Yeah, the whole thing.
All right, just stay with me. Your capacity to be accepting of another, to be without judgment, which is why these teachings are so important. That impacts the purity, clarity, and intensity of light that then starts to flow through you. The light becomes impersonal. It's not your light anymore eventually. All right, now that's a high altitude to reach, but it's not your light anymore. Okay, it's not. That light, that's what happened with Francis. That's why they stand out. Somehow the light they were was not just from them. And even though it's like, am I looking at something holy in physical form? I need to touch you. Right? So that's Francis. But what I'm telling us, all of us, her capacity to care for other people was very limited. She was incredibly judgmental. Incredibly judgmental. She had a history of harshness. And honestly, I tell you the truth, when I sat with her, I felt like saying, if I could just cry some of your grief away, I would do that with you. Because the memories that I saw that we didn't even talk about, of her mother being beaten in front of her to death, and what I saw. So I held my breath as I sat with her. And I could see, and this is a big deal, that her commission from heaven to heal people was something she had anguish with, because helping other people was not in her mental choice, but taking from other people was. You see how God gets you? So she was commissioned to help other people. That's how powerful these near-death experiences. This is how powerful. When God says, all right, that's it. You're coming up here for a minute. She was commissioned then to go and help people, which was killing her because she hadn't yet finished feeling that journey of, I have to get what's mine because I suffered. Because I suffered, I get to do this. I get to take whatever I want. And what heaven said was, no, you don't. As a matter of fact, we're going to send you back a healer. Now go. And it was absolutely killing her. And yet she says, what can I do? I have to, really, she had to heal herself. And truly what I have come to realize, everybody, is that one of our most challenging choices, one of our most challenging obstacles in life that we all share is our capacity, as the light grows in us and our heart gets more receptive to the heart of other people, that we can intuit the vulnerabilities of each other. And we're meant to do that. We're meant to do that. We're not meant to walk by each other and just ignore. Because we're all one, we're cells of one body. We're not meant to do that. We're not meant to make horrible statements like, why don't they get a job? Why don't they just work? It's instead, fill them with charity. Just send love from you to them. Like, I don't know what you're going through, but I send this love to them.
Sometimes the vulnerabilities are so intense, you just sit there.
I know, sometimes the vulnerabilities are so intense. And I know, I know. I really do. And this whole world is that. This whole world. It's like one of my favorite prayers is I'll sit at night and I look at the world when I watch the news, and I'll say, look at this place. I imagine I'm really tired, and I'll say, will you look at this shit show? Really? What can we do? What can we do? And then I'll say to myself, the last thing I'm going to do is be defeated. Oh no, I'm not built for defeat. Not going to happen. You've made me too pissy a person. I'm not built for defeat. That ain't going to happen. And the thing is, I absolutely cannot tolerate injustice or darkness. If you want to get on my bad side, boy, that's it. Or abuse, where human beings are abused or injustice. Man, it sends me into an orbit I don't even want to go to. I don't even want to be near me. I kicked a man's door off. I almost kicked it off his car. I was so angry about it. And that was on a good day, right? I just whoa, right? Not good. Not good. So this is why Teresa of Avila, who really formed me in so many ways. Teresa and her mansions, as well, maybe I will speak of the mansions too, because I'm madly in love with her. When she was making her journey to this place I'm talking about, this place in us, this capacity to be more than we are, this capacity to actually recognize that is where we come from, this is who we are. It took her 20 years to get to what she described as the fourth mansion. And in that Bernini's statue, the ecstasy of Teresa, where an angel comes and he's jabbing her right in the heart. And it looks like she's in some kind of state. She is. But she said, it took 20 years to get to a place where I could even begin to experience or let the love in that we're talking about. We're overwhelmed because we think it's our love. Or that we have to do something. Here's the thing. You have no idea. We keep measuring our power by, I need to do something. I need to sit with you. I need to pay your bills, do whatever it is. We still operate at the physical level thinking that's the power. We still want the $1 million. See? That's the $1 million. Instead of realizing, what choice can I make that will reorder the power of this universe? Did you hear what I just said? What choice can I make from right here that will disempower the dark and reorder the light, that gives the light more flow, that gives the God force more flow? What choice can I make that I can, what if I decided that I would simply love instead of judge? Not love passionately, but instead of judging a person, I don't judge anymore. I have no idea what God's doing with you, for you. I have no idea. I have no idea. I have no idea. I have no idea. So instead of this, I don't want to be judged, I want to judge others. Just start that. And you put that, and so I want you to picture yourself in your hologram as if you're sending out a message to the universe that says, I'm officially resigning as a judgmental person. And you just put that out there. Now I'm going to talk about healing, and because this is all interconnected. I'm in a hologram these days. There's nothing linear about me, so just jump around with me. One of the reasons I think healings becomes such a fascination and such a challenge is that for people, for us, is that we actually don't treat ourselves as the hologram system that we should treat ourselves. And number two is we never, ever, ever include in our evaluation of our well-being how we are managing the laws or how we are managing the light. We just don't even think about that. We don't even think about that. We just, that's not even, we go back to the physical level where we think fruit juice is more important than the management of the energy world. Okay. You're on the caboose, right? Get to the engine. So what I want to do now is spend the rest of our time together on the laws in your bio-spiritual, your soul, the choices you make, the power of prayer, et cetera, et cetera. You good with that? Yes. Okay, how are we doing? Yeah. All right. Now, I do need a sip. You want to stand for 1 minute and down? Don't you dare run away.